Today's story is about Oh Jong-gun, the culprit and the oldest death row inmate in South Korea involved in 2 consecutive incidents in a small coastal village. On August 29, 2007, the police received a missing people's report. It was about a young couple who had gone to see the sea 2 days earlier and had not returned home yet. Their family tried contacting them via their cell phones but received no response, raising concerns. On August 31, 2007, the body of a woman was discovered by a fishing boat, and 2 days later the body of a man was found near pier. The discovered bodies were those of a couple who had been reported missing a few days ago. The place where they were found is a small village in Bosong County, South Korea, known for picturesque coastal town. The police examined the bodies and found that the woman's body was clean with no visible trauma, but the man's body had evidence of being stabbed by something sharp and his ankle was broken. Faced with this puzzling situation, and unable to find evidence of murder, the police investigation veered off course, leading to an absurd conclusion of falling to death. The police were going to close the case. However, the Bosong police looked into the last phone call made by the deceased woman, and it turned out that the last call was to Emergency Services 119. She made 4 calls but they were cut off quickly. Although the call was disconnected quickly, the sound that came through the cell phone was recorded and stored. Later, the police downloaded the files from that phone call to investigate the recorded sound, and heard the sound of a boat's engine and the faint voice of a person. The police concluded that the victim must have urgently requested rescue from the boat. They started their investigation around the location of the last call. The police examined the boats near the beach and found CCTV footage showing the young couple heading to the pier. However, it was uncertain whether they had boarded the boat and there were no witnesses, making the investigation challenging. 1 month after the first incident on September 25, 2007, while the police were still investigating, 2 women were found dead on the beach. The body of the 2 women was also retrieved from the sea. The condition of the second victims clearly indicated foul play, prompting the police to initiate an immediate investigation. The quiet town was now shaken with fear as 4 people had died on the beach within a month. The police focused on finding witnesses and luckily 1 witness came forward. The witness claimed to have seen the 2 deceased women getting on a boat. The police went to the owner of the boat mentioned by the witness. Inside the boat, they found belongings and credit cards that seemed to belong to the deceased women. The police immediately arrested the owner of the boat, 73-year-old Oh Jong-gun. Initially, he denied any involvement, claiming he was too old and weak to harm young women. But the police continued to interrogate him and he eventually confessed that it was an accident. He asserted that 1 woman accidentally fell into the sea while walking on the boat and the other woman attempted to rescue her friend but also fell into the water. He alleged his rescue efforts were unsuccessful. The police didn't believe his words and continued with the investigation. While the police continued their investigation in search of decisive evidence, another witness came forward. The witness showed the police the text message on her cell phone and said, "I am the person who lent the phone earlier. I got trapped on a boat. Please call the police." The witness explained that she had gone to the beach with her husband but her husband disappeared, and when she tried to call him she realized he had her phone. She saw 2 women nearby and asked one of them to lend her a phone so she could call her husband. A few hours later, she received a message from the person who lent her the phone. She saw the message much later and didn't consider it very important, so she didn't report it to the police separately. However, after hearing about the incident in the news, she said that she realized the message had been sent by the deceased woman. The person who lent her the phone was one of the victims. The victim sought help from the witness because the victim could not get through to the police with her own phone. When the police presented all the evidence, O confessed, stating that he just wanted to touch the young women because they were pretty. He admitted taking victims on the boat and he only had the intention of touching them. The 2 young women who were found dead were Kim, a 24-year-old, and Choi, a 23-year-old nurse, arrived at Bosong Beach for a vacation during their time off. In the meantime, Oh was a fisherman, feeling confident that he had not been caught by the police, spotted these 2 women while searching for potential victims. He cunningly offered the two women a free boat ride, an innocent appearance of him made the women unsuspecting of any danger. Enticed by him, the two women boarded the boat and they set sail into the sea. However, once they reached a remote spot far from the coast, he revealed his true intentions. As they were heading into the middle of the sea, he suddenly changed his demeanor. He started staring at the two women and approached Kim. One of the women forcibly groped her breasts, attempting to molest her. In response, the terrified woman loudly protested, asking him what he was doing. The other woman, Choi, intervened, telling him to stop, and they got into a physical fight. During the struggle, he pushed Choi into the sea. Kim used her phone to try to call the police for help, but the signal did not work, so she sent a message pleading for help to the woman who borrowed her phone right before she boarded the boat. As soon as he pushed Choi into the sea, he grabbed Kim's neck and violently shook her, causing her head to hit the bottom of the boat. He then callously pushed her into the sea as well. She was fighting for her life and tried desperately to climb back onto the boat. During the interrogation, the police probed Oh about the previous death of a couple, as there were similarities in the locations of the incidents and the appearance of the bodies. The police asked him about the first incident involving the young couple, but he denied any involvement. Although there was no evidence in the first case, the police did not give up. They began investigating the sound heard during the call to emergency services 119 by the deceased woman in the first incident. Thinking the sound resembled the engine noise of a boat, the police recorded the engine sounds of all boats present at the scene and consulted with an audio expert. The expert reported a 90% match between the engine sound and that of Oh's boat. Meanwhile, a man found a cell phone that had been underwater while fishing. He immediately reported it to the police, who sent the phone to the National Scientific Investigation Team for restoration. However, the phone was not easily restored and it took a long time. Finally, with the efforts of the team, the phone was restored and it contained pictures of the young couple and photos of him, including his back. The police showed these pictures to Oh and urged him to tell the truth. He immediately confessed to the crime, and the motive behind the crime was shocking. The young couple had asked Oh to take them on his boat and he agreed. In the middle of the sea, he stopped the boat and carried out his malevolent intentions. Sneaking up on the man, Oh pushed the man into the water when the man was unprepared. As the man struggled to return to the boat, Oh used a pole with an iron hook to obstruct and strike him, ultimately leading to the man's tragic drowning. While the man and Oh fought, the man's girlfriend called police, but unfortunately, the call was disconnected after a few seconds. Overwhelmed with fear, the man's girlfriend trembled and cowered, unable to control her fear. Oh, having disposed of the man, then targeted her and he touched her breast, but he pushed her into the sea when she resisted his touching. Remarkably, after the incident, Oh remained calm and carried on with his routine activities, catching octopuses near his home and selling them to market vendors. Even upon discovering the couple's bodies, he displayed no visible emotion. After he was arrested, he claimed that it was the couple's fault for not listening to him and that the couples had asked for a free boat ride. Throughout the investigation, he adamantly refused to plead guilty and maintained a brazen attitude. Oh was born in 1938 in Bozong County, Jeollanam-do, the location of the incidents. His mother died shortly after giving birth to him, and he was raised by his stepmother in a household with half-siblings who discriminated against and disliked him. He started working on fishing boats at the young age of 5, and eventually dropped out of school in the 2nd grade due to pressure from his stepmother to work. At the age of 22, in 1959, he got married and earned a living through octopus fishing, a trade he had learned since childhood, and had 7 children. He had a history of assault and illegal fishing resulting in fines. Although he lived in the same village for over 10 years, the residents testified that he never socialized much with people and had no major incidents. Oh's trial proceeded, and despite being 73 years old, he was sentenced to death for committing heinous and brutal crimes in the once quiet coastal village. He appealed, with his lawyer arguing that the death penalty was unfair, and requested an alternative sentence between death and life imprisonment. They also petitioned for the unconstitutionality of the death penalty, which was accepted by the court. However, the court ruled that the death sentence did not violate human dignity and value due to the severity of the crimes, and his death sentence was confirmed. He became the oldest death row inmate in South Korea at that time. He expressed that he felt more pain and unhappiness than the deceased victims as he faced societal condemnation. Instead, he argued that the deceased women were at fault, claiming that they wore provocative clothing which led to the incident. As soon as his sentence was confirmed, all his family members cut ties with him, and his children left their hometown with a sense of shame and moved elsewhere. As of now, the sentence has not been carried out.